one of the things that Brandon and I recognized is we had learned so much in the financial world that we had started complicating the message. We started adding language in there that made sense to us, but it didn't necessarily make sense to someone we were trying to teach.
I think this is recognizing our strengths and our weaknesses and having the beauty of the community of IBC, filling in the gaps to make it stronger, not weaker. So Nate can take a great idea with a bajillion words and sum it down to 3 words and it makes sense. I can take 3 words and turn them into 10,000 and it not make sense. And so it makes sense to me, but not anybody reading it or listening to it. And so that's the blessing of what we think is going to be a part of our message is partnership's not bad if it's with the right mindset and thinking long range. So where it's really stuck with me simplistically is Nelson's 5 principles work in all walks of life. I want to be a great dad. I'm going to think long range. I'm thinking about what I want to be able to say about my kids when they're 60, whether I'm here or not. I'm going to be great at that. I'm not going to be afraid to capitalize. Man, I'm going to put in the time, the energy, the effort in those relationships to pour into it. I'm not talking about money at all. Not talking about becoming your own banker. We're talking about life. And then I've taught my daughter this one. Don't steal the peas means do not treat people in a way relationally that you wouldn't want to be treated. In other words, think long range in how you put product back on the shelf, how you provide value, how you show up for people. And then don't do business with banks. Scripture is very clear. It doesn't say we can't have debt, but it definitely says don't be a slave to the lender. And because I know all too well coming out of a season that that's all good till it isn't. And it isn't any fun. And you realize what Nelson said, realize the greatest rate of return we could ever get is taking over the function of banking in our life. That is hit Nate and I over the head like a ton of bricks lately. And the last one is rethink your thinking. If we are so full of ourselves that we think we've got everything figured out, we are succumbing to arrival syndrome. And I tell young men all the time, if you don't believe you're waking up in a fight every day and arrival syndrome is at your door ready to knock you out, then you're already losing. And so it reminds me that every story we ever heard about Nelson was almost like it was coming from Nelson because of Mike and Chris and James and Ryan and David, you and all the people we've had the blessing to listen to. But there was 2 things that always stuck out to me and still do with his stories. He never told you what to do. 3 things. He was always learning, and he'd rather talk to you about Jesus before IBC all day, every day. And when I tell you that that is in alignment with Nate and I, even before we realized it was in alignment, that's how simple it is to us now. But we forget that all the time because we like to make things complicated.